The city of Toronto buzzed with life, its towering skyscrapers and bustling streets masking secrets that only a few noticed. Among those secrets was the story of Emily Thornton, a 28-year-old English woman who had come to Canada to study urban planning, eager to build a career and carve out a new life far from the misty streets of London. She was bright, determined, and meticulous, traits that had earned her accolades at university. But they also made her vulnerable, because Emily had a curiosity that often led her into situations far more dangerous than she anticipated. It began with a seemingly ordinary morning on the Toronto lakeshore. Emily had gone out for her daily jog along the waterfront, headphones in, music flowing, and thoughts of her thesis dancing in her mind. It was a crisp autumn morning, the kind where the chill sharpens the senses and the golden leaves crackle underfoot. She ran past joggers, early commuters, and the occasional street musician, oblivious to the dark eyes watching her from a distance. Alejandro Rivas, a 32-year-old Colombian freelance photographer, had arrived in Toronto just a month prior. Tall, with an athletic build and an air of quiet intensity, he had a knack for being in the right place at the right time. Their paths crossed that morning when he paused on a bridge overlooking the lake, camera in hand. Emily's laughter, light, unguarded, caught his attention. Something about her presence, so alive against the muted backdrop of the city, drew him in. Alejandro approached with a friendly smile, asking if she minded being photographed against the backdrop of the sunrise. Emily hesitated, wary but polite, and then agreed, curious herself. That fleeting interaction would spark a connection neither fully understood. Over the next few weeks, they met casually, sometimes coincidentally, other times deliberately. Alejandro was charming and enigmatic, carrying stories from Bogotá and a collection of photographs that hinted at his travels and experiences with people who lived on the edges of society. Emily found herself drawn to his mysterious aura, despite the subtle unease she sometimes felt. Something in his eyes suggested he knew more than he revealed, that he saw patterns in life that others couldn't. Then the unusual incidents began. First, it was the feeling of being watched. Emily would sense shadows following her path along Queen Street, hear footsteps behind her when she was alone on quieter streets, and find her apartment slightly disturbed, as if someone had been inside. Nothing was missing. At least not at first, but the unease gnawed at her. She confided in Alejandro, who listened carefully, nodding but offering no explanations. His calm demeanor reassured her at times, yet it also left questions unanswered. One evening, as Emily returned from a library session at the University of Toronto, she found a small, folded note slipped under her apartment door. The note was handwritten, simple: "Not everyone is who they appear to be. Trust carefully." Her heart raced. She showed it to Alejandro, who examined it with quiet interest. "Someone is trying to warn you, or manipulate you," he said, his voice low. "Either way, you need to be careful." That night, sleep eluded Emily. She stared at the ceiling, questioning how much danger she was truly in and how much of it Alejandro was revealing, or concealing. The following days brought more unnerving events. Emily discovered subtle changes in her personal space. A window slightly ajar that she was sure she had locked, a chair moved in her apartment, and her laptop logged off when she hadn't touched it. She began documenting everything, leaving notes for herself, taking photographs of any anomalies, and trying to piece together what seemed like a sinister puzzle. Alejandro offered to help, suggesting they create a secure system for her files and communications, but again, he was vague about the source of the threat. One morning, Emily received an anonymous email. The sender knew intimate details about her daily routine, what streets she walked, which cafes she frequented, and even the number of steps she took each morning on her jog. The subject line was chilling: "We are closer than you think." Panic surged through her, and she immediately shared the email with Alejandro. He examined it closely, tracing the metadata as far as he could, but it led nowhere definitive. "This is bigger than either of us," he admitted quietly. Emily's fear intensified when a friend from university, Thomas, mentioned seeing Alejandro near the library the day she received the email. Thomas had initially thought it was coincidental, but the timing struck Emily as suspicious. Alejandro, for his part, maintained his composure, explaining that he had coincidentally been photographing urban architecture in the area that day. Emily wanted to believe him, yet doubts began to gnaw at the edges of her trust. Meanwhile, Detective Sandra Liu of the Toronto Police Service was assigned to investigate a series of reports involving suspicious observations and possible stalking near the lakeshore. While Emily hadn't filed a formal complaint, her friends had called in concern after noticing her unease. Detective Liu, known for her meticulous attention to detail, began assembling a timeline, reviewing CCTV footage, and cross-referencing reports of unusual activity. The case was initially low priority, categorized as potential harassment, but something about the pattern felt deliberate, almost orchestrated. Days passed, and Emily attempted to maintain normalcy. She continued her studies, went to lectures, and even met Alejandro at cafes, but the tension was always present. It culminated one evening when Emily noticed a black SUV parked across the street from her apartment. It had been there before, at irregular times, always watching. She snapped a photo, heart racing, and showed it to Alejandro. "This is serious," he said, his eyes darkening. "We need to figure out who's behind this before it escalates." A week later, the night Emily disappeared began like any other. She had stayed late at the university, finalizing a presentation for her urban planning course. She left around 10 p.m., heading toward her apartment along the lakeshore. The streets were quiet, the city lights reflecting off the water. Her phone buzzed with a text from Alejandro. "Be careful. Don't take your usual route tonight." Emily hesitated, glancing at the familiar path, and chose an alternate route along the waterfront. She never arrived home. The next morning, her apartment was untouched, her laptop still on her desk, and her keys in the usual place. But Emily herself had vanished. Detective Liu was called in immediately, launching an investigation into a missing person case with unsettling anomalies. Security cameras along the waterfront revealed only fragments, glimpses of a figure matching Emily's build and hair color, walking briskly, sometimes appearing to look over her shoulder. The black SUV was nowhere to be seen, yet eyewitness accounts reported seeing it parked nearby hours before her disappearance. Alejandro contacted the police voluntarily, offering his assistance. He provided photographs, timestamps, and detailed notes on Emily's recent behavior, but he remained a mystery in himself. Questions arose. Was Alejandro a friend helping Emily, or was he connected to her disappearance? He had the knowledge, the proximity, and the opportunity, yet his own fear and insistence on helping complicated the picture. Among Emily's belongings, Detective Liu discovered a small, encrypted USB drive, hidden beneath a floorboard in her apartment. Its contents were immediately mysterious. Files, videos, and notes documenting her fears, her interactions with Alejandro, and suspicions about unknown observers. There were references to people she believed were watching her, as well as coded entries that suggested she had anticipated a potential disappearance. Whoever was behind her vanishing had underestimated her foresight. The investigation spiraled into a tangled web of surveillance footage, cryptic messages, and conflicting accounts. Local authorities coordinated with international contacts in Bogotá, investigating Alejandro's past and connections. Emily's disappearance was no longer a simple missing person case. It hinted at a sophisticated network capable of manipulating movements, controlling perception, and staying hidden in plain sight. Weeks passed with no sign of Emily. Public attention grew after local media picked up the story. Young English woman disappears in Toronto. Mystery deepens, read the headlines. Social media speculation flourished, with theories ranging from kidnapping, foul play, to voluntary disappearance. Detective Liu emphasized caution, knowing that the truth could be stranger, and more dangerous, than anyone imagined. Weeks passed after Emily's disappearance, yet the mystery surrounding her only deepened. The city of Toronto continued moving as it always had. Trains running, crowds filling sidewalks, and the constant hum of urban life. But for those closely involved in the case, time seemed suspended. Detective Sandra Liu had worked many missing persons cases during her career, but something about Emily Thornton's disappearance refused to settle into any familiar pattern. Most disappearances followed certain predictable paths: a troubled relationship, financial problems, an impulsive decision to leave. But Emily's life had shown none of those signals. Instead, it looked like someone had carefully erased her. And the more Detective Liu looked into it, the stranger it became. The encrypted USB drive discovered beneath the loose floorboard in Emily's apartment had quickly become the center of the investigation. Initially, the files were inaccessible. Emily had protected them with several layers of encryption, and the police cybercrime unit needed days to break through. When they finally did, the room fell silent. The drive contained dozens of video recordings, short clips Emily had recorded on her laptop camera during the weeks leading up to her disappearance. In each video, she looked increasingly nervous, sometimes whispering, sometimes glancing over her shoulder as if she feared someone might hear her. In the first recording she spoke calmly. "If you're watching this, something has probably happened to me. I hope I'm wrong. But if I'm not, this is my record." The investigators watched the files one by one. Emily described the strange incidents that had begun after she met Alejandro Rivas. At first she insisted she didn't believe he was involved in anything dangerous. She spoke about him with warmth, even admiration. But as the videos progressed, her tone shifted. "I don't know who to trust anymore," she said in one of the final recordings. "Alejandro says he's helping me, but sometimes I feel like he already knows what's happening before it happens." Detective Liu paused the video and leaned back in her chair. Alejandro Rivas, the Colombian photographer, had been cooperative since the beginning of the investigation. He had willingly given interviews, provided photographs, and answered every question. He even seemed genuinely concerned about Emily. But the more the detectives examined his timeline, the more questions emerged. Alejandro had arrived in Toronto only a month before meeting Emily. That seemed like a coincidence at first. But when immigration records were examined more closely, it turned out he had traveled to Canada 3 times in the previous year, always for short visits, always returning to Colombia within a week. Why? No one could answer that yet. Meanwhile, Alejandro himself had begun receiving messages. The first one arrived 2 weeks after Emily vanished. It appeared in the same encrypted email account Emily had used to store her files. Alejandro stared at the screen for a long time before forwarding it to Detective Liu. The message was short: "Stop looking." There was no sender address. No traceable origin. Just 2 words: "Stop looking." Detective Liu knew what that meant. Someone was watching the investigation. Someone who knew Alejandro still had access to Emily's account. The cybercrime team attempted to trace the message, but it had been routed through multiple international servers. Whoever had sent it knew exactly how to remain invisible. That same night, Alejandro received another message. This one was different. "She trusted you. Now finish what she started." Alejandro immediately called Detective Liu. His voice sounded different now, tense, almost frightened. "I think Emily was investigating something," he said. "What kind of something?" Liu asked. "I don't know yet," he admitted. "But I think she found something she wasn't supposed to." The next breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A security camera near the Toronto waterfront had captured a partial image the night Emily disappeared. At first the footage looked useless, grainy, poorly lit, barely visible. But after digital enhancement, investigators noticed something important. Emily had not been alone. Walking several steps behind her was a man wearing a dark jacket and baseball cap. His face was mostly hidden. But one frame captured a clear detail: a tattoo on the side of his neck. Detective Liu felt a surge of adrenaline when she saw it. The tattoo was distinctive, an intricate black design resembling a jaguar. And she had seen it before. 3 years earlier, during a joint investigation with federal authorities into a South American smuggling network. The symbol had appeared in intelligence files linked to a Colombian criminal organization. If the man in the footage belonged to that group, Emily's disappearance was no longer just a missing persons case. It could be something much larger. The next step was obvious. Investigators needed to learn more about Alejandro's past. When confronted with the footage and the tattoo connection, Alejandro didn't deny knowing the symbol. But his explanation shocked everyone in the room. "I used to work with them," he said quietly. Detective Lu's expression hardened. "Explain." Alejandro rubbed his face, exhausted. "Years ago in Bogotá I was a freelance photographer," he said. "I took pictures for newspapers, travel magazines, sometimes for people who didn't want their names attached to things." He paused. "One of those jobs led me into something I couldn't escape." According to Alejandro, the criminal network had been using photographers and journalists as cover to move information and money across borders. At first he didn't realize what he was involved in. But by the time he understood, leaving was dangerous. Eventually he had managed to disappear from the network. He left Colombia, changed cities, changed identities. But people like that didn't forget. Detective Lu listened carefully. "And Emily?" she asked. Alejandro's eyes filled with regret. "She found something," he said. "What?" "I think she accidentally discovered financial transfers connected to them." Emily's urban planning research had involved studying international real estate investments in Toronto. Foreign investors had been purchasing properties across the city. Most of the transactions were legitimate. But a few looked suspicious. Large sums of money moving through shell companies. Companies connected to Colombian accounts. Emily had noticed the pattern. And once she started digging deeper, someone had noticed her. That explained the emails, the surveillance, the warnings. But it didn't answer the most important question. Where was Emily now? Another week passed with no answers. Then, one rainy afternoon, Detective Lu received a call from a marina worker along Lake Ontario. A small backpack had washed up near the shoreline. Inside the bag were 3 items. Emily's phone, a notebook, and a flash drive. The phone was water damaged but partially recoverable. The notebook contained dozens of handwritten notes, financial figures, company names, addresses. But the flash drive held something far more shocking. Video footage. Emily herself had recorded it. The date stamp showed it had been filmed just hours before she disappeared. In the video, Emily sat in a dimly lit room. Her face was pale, but determined. "If you're seeing this," she said slowly, "it means they found me." She explained that she had uncovered evidence linking several Toronto real estate companies to money laundering operations run by the Colombian network. She had tried to report it. But before she could finish gathering proof, someone began following her. She looked directly into the camera. "Alejandro, if you're watching this, I'm sorry I got you involved." Then she said something that made everyone in the investigation room freeze. "They're not just in Colombia. They're here. In Toronto. In places you wouldn't expect." The video ended abruptly. No location clues. No indication of where she had recorded it. Detective Lu stared at the dark screen. The room felt heavy with unanswered questions. Had Emily been kidnapped? Had she escaped? Or had something worse happened after the recording stopped? Months passed. Despite international cooperation and hundreds of leads, Emily Thornton was never found. The financial investigation eventually exposed several money laundering operations tied to foreign criminal networks. Multiple arrests were made. Millions of dollars were seized. But none of the suspects admitted knowing what happened to Emily. Alejandro remained in Toronto for nearly a year, working with investigators and continuing to search for answers. Then one day he left the city. Quietly. Without telling anyone where he was going. The case slowly went cold. But every now and then, a new theory appears online. Some believe Emily was killed after discovering too much. Others believe she escaped and went into hiding to protect herself. And a few investigators still wonder if the most chilling possibility might be true. That Emily Thornton planned her disappearance herself. Knowing that the only way to survive the truth she discovered was to vanish completely. To this day, her case remains unsolved. And somewhere out there, the answers may still exist. waiting to be uncovered. Before you leave, take a moment to think about this. What really happened to Emily Thornton? Did she uncover something so dangerous that she was silenced? Or did she disappear intentionally to escape the people who were watching her? Drop your theory in the comments below. Your perspective might reveal something others missed. And if you're fascinated by real cold cases, hidden clues, and mysteries that still remain unsolved, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss the next investigation. There are many more chilling stories waiting to be uncovered. And sometimes, the smallest detail can change everything.